Good morning. You're watching DD India and I'm Preeti presenting News on the Hour, a program we get for you every morning to make sure that you keep yourself abreast with everything that's making it to the headlines. We've got to national updates, we'll get to international updates, updates from the world of business, sports, everything to keep you engaged for the next 1 hour. First, the top stories. Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan apprises Prime Minister Modi about the flood situation in Madhya Pradesh. Shivpuri and other areas continue to be affected. Rescue operation by Army, SDRF, NDRF continues. Chief Minister to take an aerial tour of the flood-hit areas. In Parliament, a bill to provide for the constitution of the Commission for Air Quality Management in NCR and adjoining areas to be moved in Lok Sabha. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to move the bill to amend the Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation Act 1961 in Rajya Sabha. Union Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar to take part in the India-ASEAN Foreign Ministers meet virtually today. The meeting to focus on COVID-19, cooperation and connectivity. India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage crosses landmark milestone of 48 crore. 48 crore 52 lakh vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate stands at 97.37% with 36,668 patients recovering during the last 24 hours. In international updates, at least 41 people killed in a road accident in south-central Mali on Tuesday. The incident occurred in a collision after a truck carrying goods and market workers collided with a passenger bus. Further, 33 people were wounded in the collision. And in sports, in Tokyo Olympics, Indian wrestler Ravi Dahiya through to the semi-finals of men's freestyle 57 kgs. Wrestler Deepak Punia also qualifies for men's freestyle 86 kg semi-final. Indian boxer Lovlina Borgohain to face Turkish boxer in the women's 69 kg semi-final. Indian women's hockey team to fight against Argentina in their first ever Olympic semi-final later during the day. An Indian cricket team to play the first test match against England at Trent Bridge, Nottingham today. The Indian team is in England for a 5-test match series. Alright, those are the top stories. Let's get to the news in detail. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has assured all possible help to Madhya Pradesh in this time of crisis. Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Chauhan held a detailed discussion over telephone with the Prime Minister. Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister said that Prime Minister has been apprised about the flood situation in the state and the ongoing rescue and relief operations. Due to the situation getting worse, he has also discussed with the Prime Minister about taking help from the Indian Army in the flood-hit areas. The Chief Minister, who chaired a meeting with officials over the flood situation, said that the state has asked for 4 columns of the Army to rescue the stranded people.
इस अप्रत्याशित बरसात के कारण बाढ़ की स्थितियां बन गई। एसडीआरएफ की 70 टीमें रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन में लगी है। 3 टीमें एनडीआरएफ की लगी है। और टीमों के लिए भी हमने अनुरोध किया है। प्रभावित हो सकने वाले गांवों में सतर्क कर दिया गया है। लोगों को ऊंचे स्थान पर भेजने की व्यवस्था प्रशासन कर रहा है। मैं जनता से अपील करना चाहता हूं, जो लोग बाढ़ में घिरे हैं, चिंता ना करें। आपके पल पल की चिंता हम कर रहे हैं।
Meanwhile, rescue operation by Army, SDRF and NDRF continues. Over 2,000 people have been rescued safely. The Indian Air Force's 3 ALH and B-17 helicopters and 2 more B-17 helicopters are pressed in for rescue operations in the flood-hit districts of Gwalior, Chambal region. 3 villagers struck on trees in Shivpuri have been rescued. The Met Department has sounded a red alert for Shivpuri, Shiopur, Guna and other districts, besides orange alert for 9 and yellow alert for other 8 districts. Alright, an update on the COVID situation from across the country. Over 3.09 crore recoveries have been recorded so far across the country, out of which over 36,668 patients recovered during the last 24 hours. With this, the recovery rate has currently reached 97.37%. 42,625 daily new cases were reported in the last 24 hours, and less than 50,000 daily new cases have been reported since the last 38 consecutive days. Now, this is the result of sustained and collaborated efforts by the centre and the states and union territories. India's active caseload has declined to 4,10,353. Active cases constitute 1.29% of the total cases. Weekly positivity rate continues to remain below 5% and currently stands at 2.36%. The daily positivity rate also stands below 5% and is currently at 2.31%. With substantially ramped up testing capacity across the country, a total of 18,47,518 tests were conducted in the last 24 hours in the country. Cumulatively, India has conducted over 47.31 crore tests so far. An update on the nationwide vaccination drive. Now, India's COVID vaccination coverage has crossed a landmark of 48 crore yesterday. 48 crore 52 lakh 86,570 vaccine doses have been administered through 56 lakh 83,682 sessions as per the provisional report till 7 a.m. today. 62 lakh 53,741 vaccine doses were administered in the last 24 hours. Also, more than 50.37 crore vaccine doses have been provided to states and union territories so far through all the sources, and also a further of 49,19,780 doses are in the pipeline. Out of this, total consumption including wastages is 48 crore 19 lakh 75,798 doses. More than 2.6 crore balance and unutilized COVID vaccine doses are still available with the states and union territories and also private hospitals to be administered. The new phase of universalization of COVID-19 vaccination has commenced from 21st of June. The union government is committed to accelerating the pace and also expanding the scope of COVID-19 vaccination throughout the country. In Uttarakhand, the ongoing COVID-induced curfew has been extended from today till August 10th. However, the vaccination drive will continue during the restrictions. The state government has also permitted a maximum of 50 persons to participate in the funeral processions. During previous relaxations, the government offices were allowed to function with 100% capacity. Shops and businesses in the state were also permitted to open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. Water parks were permitted to open with 50% capacity. Meanwhile, the state government on 2nd of August reopened schools for students of class 9 to 12. Schools for classes 6 to 8 will reopen from August 16. In this regard, the Uttarakhand government issued a set of standard operating procedures. Amidst relaxation of COVID restrictions in Mumbai, the BMC has made it clear that the night curfew will continue in Mumbai from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. There will be no restriction in the movement of people from 5 in the morning till 11 in the night, but the ban on the gathering of people will continue. Also, BMC made it clear that all shops will remain open till 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Medical and medicine shops will remain open 24 hours. All sports activities have been allowed to restart, but swimming pools and sports activities where there is physical contact will continue to be banned. All right, let's get to action from Parliament now. On the third day of the third week of the monsoon session, Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav will introduce the Commission for Air Quality Management in the National Capital Region and Adjoining Areas Bill 2021 for consideration and passage in the Lok Sabha. In addition, Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar will introduce the Coconut Development Board Amendment Bill 2021 for consideration and passage. Apart from this, a discussion has been scheduled in Lok Sabha under Rule 193 on the COVID-19 situation in the country. In Rajya Sabha, Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will introduce the Limited Liability Partnership Amendment Bill 2021 for consideration and passage. Along with this, the Finance Minister will also introduce the Deposit, Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation Amendment Bill 2021. Tribal Affairs Minister Arjun Munda will present the Constitution Scheduled Tribes Order Amendment Bill 2021 for consideration and passage today. Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia will introduce the Airport Economic Regulatory Authority of India Amendment Bill 2021, which will be discussed and considered. Apart from this, Finance Minister will also introduce the General Insurance Business Nationalization Amendment Bill 2021 in Rajya Sabha. This bill was passed by Lok Sabha. And with Parliament proceedings being repeatedly stalled by the opposition's protest over the Pegasus issue, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday slammed it for its conduct, including tearing of papers and making derogatory remarks on the way bills have been passed, as he accused them of insulting the legislature and the constitution. We get to this report.
Pandemonium continues in both houses of parliament as the opposition protests on many issues continues unabated. One comment on the proceedings and legislative business by TMC member invited a strong repartee from the government and the BJP. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has in fact called it an insult of the parliament during the meeting of the BJP parliamentary party meet.
TMC के द्वारा जो ट्वीट हुआ है उसका मैं समझता हूं और प्रधानमंत्री जी ने ये कहा कि इट इज इंसल्ट टू द पार्लियामेंट, इंसल्ट टू द पीपल हु हैव इलेक्टेड द एमपीज। तो मैं इसका पूरा कंडेम करता हूं और प्रधानमंत्री जी भी इसके बारे में बहुत आक्रोश प्रकट किया है।
Sir, crossing all the limits and you are bringing bad name to Parliament and bad name to yourself. Please put your respect to
चाट पापड़ी की तरह बिल पास किए जा रहे हैं। यहाँ पर जो माननीय सदस्य बैठे हुए हैं, यहाँ पर चाट पापड़ी बना रहे हैं क्या?
Meanwhile, legislative business was attempted in both the houses. Rajya Sabha passed the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Bill 2021, while the Lok Sabha passed the Essential Defence Services Bill 2021 and the Tribunals Reforms Bill 2021. Both the houses attempted to run the question hour despite the pandemonium. Important questions on the Ministries of Agriculture and Health and Family Welfare were answered by the respective ministers. The presiding officers have come down heavily on the unruly members for their conduct.
Allow the house to function. People are watching. Children are watching. The entire country is really getting organized by our continuous disruptions. We are sent here for discussing. Discuss, debate and decide. Do not disrupt.
माननीय सदस्यगण, ये सदन आपका है, इसका सम्मान और मर्यादा रखने आपकी जिम्मेदारी है। आपको देश की जनता ने इसलिए चुनकर भेजा था, आप अपनी बात रखें, किसान के मुद्दों की बात रखें, लेकिन आप नारेबाजी कर रहे हैं, तख्ते ले रहे हैं, ये उचित नहीं है।
The opposition ruckus has severely impacted the working of the parliament during the monsoon session, and despite repeated requests by the government and the presiding officers, pandemonium continues to affect the legislative business. Parliament team, DD India.
Union Minister for External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar will take part in the India-ASEAN Foreign Ministers meet virtually today. The meeting will deliberate on COVID-19 cooperation and also connectivity. Brunei will be the host of the meeting, and the meet is part of the annual mechanism, and the group has a similar mechanism with the US, Australia, Russia, Canada and New Zealand. Dr. S. Jaishankar will also participate in the East Asia Foreign Ministers meeting, which includes 10 ASEAN nations and 8 other countries, which include India, China, Japan, Korea, Australia, Russia, New Zealand and the US. The meeting will focus on regional political security issues in the lead up to the East Asia Summit in late October. Apart from the External Affairs Minister, the meeting would also have Russia's Sergei Lavrov, China's Wang Yi and US Secretary of State Antony Blinken taking part in the meet. Chief of the Air Staff of Indian Air Force, Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhadauria, is in Israel for an official visit on an invitation from Major General Amikam Norkin, commander of the Israel Air Force. As strategic partners, India and Israel enjoy strong multi-dimensional ties, an important pillar of which is defense cooperation and military-level exchanges. Both sides will discuss enhancement and the depth and scope of bilateral exchanges between the two air forces. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with beneficiaries of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana in Uttar Pradesh via video conferencing. Uttar Pradesh will celebrate 5th of August as Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana Day. Also, a massive awareness program will be launched throughout the state to ensure that no beneficiary is left out from availing the benefits of the scheme. Almost 15 crore beneficiaries of the state have been getting ration free of cost through Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. Nearly 80,000 fair price shops in the state have been distributing food grains to the beneficiaries of the scheme. Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, will also be present on the occasion. In international updates, in Mali, at least 41 people were killed when a truck carrying goods and market workers collided with a passenger bus in South Central region. The incident occurred when the truck's driver lost control after a tire burst and the vehicle swerved into the path of a bus. A further 33 people were wounded in the collision. Mali's transport minister expressed grief over the incident and said the government will investigate the incident. Such accidents are a regular occurrence in the former French colony, where the poor state of roads has been a source of constant social tension. In Afghanistan, powerful blast followed by sporadic gunfire hit the capital on Tuesday evening near the city's heavily fortified green zone, an area home to government buildings and foreign embassies. The target of the first blast was the acting defense minister's home and the adjoining residence of a member of parliament. Less than 2 hours after the first blast, another loud blast followed by rapid gunfire again shook Kabul. The blast came amidst heavy clashes between Afghanistan forces and Taliban in several Afghan cities. The attack was not immediately claimed by any terrorist organization. Meanwhile, heavy clashes are taking place between Afghanistan forces and the Taliban in several Afghan cities following the withdrawal of US and NATO forces from the country. The UN mission in Afghanistan on Tuesday called for an immediate end to fighting in the urban areas, saying that civilians are bearing the brunt of the violence. Secretary General spokesperson said that the Afghan people have suffered through decades and decades of conflict, and also that United States stands with the Afghan people, although it is up to the Afghan parties to reach to a political solution. The latest reports show that 40 civilians have been killed and 118 were injured within the last 24 hours in the city of Lashkargah as Taliban continue their ground assault. In Kandahar, at least 5 civilians were killed and 42 were injured.
The UN mission in Afghanistan called for an immediate end to fighting in urban areas, saying that civilians are bearing the brunt of the violence. The latest report shows that 40 civilians have been killed and 118 injured within the last 24 hours in the city of Lashkargah as the Taliban continue their ground assault. Taliban ground offensive and Afghan National Army airstrikes are causing the most harm. It is deeply concerned about indiscriminate shooting and damage to health facilities and civilian homes. We are there to help the Afghan people, but it is up to the Afghan parties to reach a political solution. We and the international community are there to support and guide in whatever way we can, but there needs to be a political solution.
In another development, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Afghan President Ashraf Ghani have condemned the ongoing attacks by the Taliban and pledged to remain in close contact going forward. US State Department spokesperson Ned Price in a statement said that Blinken spoke with Ghani to reiterate the strong and enduring US commitment to Afghanistan. Both the leaders emphasized on the need to accelerate peace negotiations and achieve a political settlement that is inclusive, respects the rights of all Afghans, allows the Afghan people to have a say in choosing their leaders, and prevents Afghan soil from being used to threaten the United States and its allies and partners. Meanwhile, the United States has said that one of many concerns about Afghanistan is that it could spiral into civil war. Peace talks between the Afghan government and Taliban negotiators started last year in the capital Doha, but have not made any substantive progress. US State Department spokesperson Ned Price said that Taliban saw the utility of a negotiated solution. They are engaged in Doha.
We're going to be looking to their actions. They have said that they see the utility of a negotiated solution. They are engaged in Doha. But the simple point remains that if they attempt and seek to do otherwise, if they seek to contravene what they have said, then they will be an international pariah. They won't have the support of their people. They won't have the support of the international community. And the concern on the part of all of us, one of many concerns, is that the result will be civil war. Will be a civil war in which the Afghan people do not have and won't be in a position to achieve the safety and security in which they deserve.
Earlier, the UN Security Council had condemned in the strongest terms the deplorable attack against the UN compound in Herat in Afghanistan on July 30th, which resulted in the death of an Afghan security forces guard and several were injured. The members of the Security Council expressed their deep concern about the high levels of violence in Afghanistan following Taliban's military offensive and called for an immediate reduction of violence. They also expressed deep concern about the number of reported serious human rights abuses and also violations in communities affected by the ongoing armed conflict across the country. The members of the Security Council condemned in the strongest terms all instances of terrorism and deliberate targeted attacks against the civilians. The members of the Security Council also called on both the Islamic Republic and the Taliban to engage meaningfully in an inclusive, Afghan-led and Afghan-owned peace process in order to make urgent progress towards a political settlement and a ceasefire. Europe is grappling with a summer of extreme weather, from heavy flooding in the north to severe heat waves and fires that have engulfed several areas in the Mediterranean region. The heat wave and an accompanying drought have fueled several wildfires in Greece and other parts of southern Europe, including Croatia, Italy and Turkey. Greek firefighters were on Tuesday battling a new forest fire that broke out at the foot of Mount Parnita, north of Athens, prompting hundreds of people to flee their homes. A village and children's camp were also evacuated and a section of the nearby highway was closed to traffic. The fire disrupted train services, the capital's power supply, and also forced authorities to seal off part of the national motorway. Temperatures of more than 40 degrees Celsius and high winds have fanned more than 100 wildfires in different areas of Greece in recent days. And in Turkey, firefighters were battling wildfires along the country's southern coast that forced tens of thousands to flee from their homes. The fires were encroaching on residential areas and also threatened a power plant. 11 fires were still blazing, fanned by strong winds, temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius and low humidity. Meanwhile, firefighters using planes and helicopters and locals with buckets of water battled wildfires raging in Turkey for the 7th day on Tuesday. 2 firefighting planes from Spain and 1 from Croatia also joined teams from Iran, Russia, Ukraine and Azerbaijan to battle the blazes after Turkey requested European support. At least 8 people have died and homes and vast tracts of forest land have been destroyed in a total of 156 wildfires which have erupted in the last week. Strong winds and a dry atmosphere have allowed the fires to rapidly expand. The fires in Turkey have led to evacuation of thousands from seaside resorts and villages. Holidaymakers in the coastal town of Bodrum were forced to evacuate their summer homes as raging wildfire engulfed their holiday resort. Plumes of black smoke rose from hillsides and forests near the coastal resorts of Bodrum and Marmaris. In Israel, firefighters are working to put out a large fire which is spreading across Jerusalem neighborhood of Givat Shaul near Har Nof, which started on Tuesday evening. The fire started in Givat Shaul industrial area and residents close to the location have been evacuated. The roads have been closed to traffic and the local public have been asked to avoid the scene of the fire. Firefighting planes are working with ground teams in order to extinguish the fire. Israel entered a massive heat wave on Monday, which is expected to last until Sunday of next week. Israel Met Service has predicted unseasonably hot conditions in mountainous regions. All right, up next, we're heading for a short break. Stay with us. You're watching News on the Hour. We'll be back in a short while.
Namaste India.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
India.
Salam
India. Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Muy India.
Nahnu hunud.
India.
Ma Hindi hasti.
Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back after the break. Let's continue giving you international updates. Most parts of the West are battling with wildfires and extreme heat wave conditions. Increased fire activity increased on Tuesday from California's largest wildfire, and that has forced evacuations from many communities located to the north and east of Lake Almanor in the Plumas County. As of now, the Dixie fire has already burnt over 253,000 acres and has been contained 35%. About 5,170 personnel are assigned to the fire. More than 7,144 structures are now threatened by the blaze, which is down from more than 10,000 threatened earlier in the week. 67 structures have already been destroyed. The Dixie fire is now the 11th largest fire in California history. A new study provides valuable new data that highlights how species extinction risk is accelerating due to rapid climate change and an increase in extreme climate events such as glacial calving and also sea ice loss. Following a petition and a lawsuit from the Center for Biological Diversity, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service today proposed the emperor penguin for protection under the Endangered Species Act. Now, the species is gravely threatened by sea ice loss, driven by climate emergency. Emperor penguins, which have distinctive golden head patches, are endemic to Antarctica. The flightless seabirds breed on sea ice and are vulnerable to melting ice caused by rising temperatures. There are approximately 61 breeding colonies along the coastline of Antarctica, the Fish and Wildlife Service said in a news release, with around 280,000 breeding pairs. Population size will likely decrease between 26% and 46% by 2050. And gunshots were fired on Tuesday morning near the entrance of the Pentagon, resulting in multiple injuries. The Pentagon, which houses the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense, was briefly put under a lockdown due to shooting incident at a nearby metro station. The lockdown was later lifted and the building reopened a short while later, according to the Pentagon Force Protection Agency. The shooting incident took place outside the building on the Metro bus platform, which is a major entrance to the Pentagon used by thousands of personnel every day entering and leaving the building. Meanwhile, the agency has advised people to stay away from Metro rail entrance and the bus platform area as it was still an active crime scene. Meanwhile, taking stock of the crisis being faced by Ethiopia's war-ravaged Tigray region, the United Nations Aid Chief Martin Griffiths said on Tuesday that aid agencies need more access to Tigray region to deliver aid. The UN says that around 400,000 people are living in famine conditions in Tigray and more than 90% of the population needs emergency food aid. The United Nations Children's Agency warned last week that more than 100,000 children in Tigray could suffer life-threatening malnutrition in the next 12 months, a 10-fold increase in the normal numbers. Spokespeople for Ethiopia's Prime Minister and a government task force on Tigray did not respond to a request for comment.
It's a calculated need, 100 trucks a day. To make this work, we need to change the circumstances that have seen trucks moving in rather slowly. We need assured access routes by land, as well as, of course, our own flights going in and out of Mekelle. From a wide range of meetings with women's groups, internally displaced people, teachers, local community, health workers, that the needs that have been spoken about in Tigray are indeed what they have been advertised as. They are huge, they are urgent, they are important.
The ruling party of Nicaragua, the Sandinista National Liberation Front, has named current President Daniel Ortega as their presidential candidate for the upcoming elections on November 7th. Ortega was chosen by a unanimous vote. This will be his fourth run for presidency since 2007. Ortega's wife and current Vice President, Rosario Murillo, was chosen as his running mate. Scores of prominent Nicaraguans, including 7 politicians aiming to run for president in November, have been arrested amidst accusations of a plot to stage a coup. Many have fled abroad. Meanwhile, international pressure has mounted on Nicaragua. The European Union on Monday announced that it would place sanctions against Rosario Murillo, one of her sons, and also 6 civil servants. US President Joe Biden on Tuesday said that he believes New York Governor Andrew Cuomo should resign after a report by New York Attorney General's office found that Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women. New York Attorney General Letitia James's investigation into sexual harassment allegations found that Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women. The office found that he harassed current and former state employees as well as a number of women outside of state government, as the office released a lengthy report on the investigation. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, however, denied the findings of the 5-month independent inquiry. In a recorded statement, he denied that he had acted inappropriately and made clear that he has no plans to resign. In Lebanon, dozens of people gathered in Beirut for a musical tribute to the city's port blast victims on the eve of the explosion's anniversary. that killed over 200 people, injured thousands and destroyed large swaths of the city. Attendees listened to a meditation-like poem recital and live performed music as they held candles. The blast, one of the biggest non-nuclear explosions ever recorded, was caused by a massive quantity of ammonium nitrate that had been left at the port since 2013. Meanwhile, an official day of mourning is being observed across the country to pay tribute to those who lost their lives in the blast. However, no senior official has been brought to account, angering many Lebanese. The blast occurred when Lebanon was already suffering a deep economic crisis that has worsened in the last year. Quick look at the COVID numbers from across the country. When we talk of from across the world, in fact, the world continues its fight. So far, over 20 crore people have contracted the virus, while recoveries have surpassed 18 crore. Over 42.58 lakh people have lost their lives due to the virus globally. In the past few days in the US, COVID cases have been on a swift increase. The country remains the worst affected by the pandemic, with 3.58 crore people infected by the virus so far. Over 6.3 lakh deaths have occurred due to the virus in the country. In one of the country's youngest COVID deaths, an Australian man in his 20s died at home of COVID-19 in Sydney this morning. The man, who was unvaccinated, was 13 days into home isolation after testing positive, and his health deteriorated rapidly. The death highlighted the risk from the virus and also the importance of getting vaccinated. Australia has set a target of having half of Sydney's population inoculated before lifting the city's lockdown by a target date of August 28th.
It's so important for the community to come forward and get vaccinated. Overnight, New South Wales hit that 4 million jab target, which is great. And obviously, I've set ourselves a goal of getting to 6 million jabs by the end of August. It's really important for us to have the tools available to us so that we can consider what life looks like beyond August 28.
With Australia seeing a surge in the COVID cases, the Qantas Airways is temporarily idling out 2,500 employees without pay for at least 2 months in a bid to cope with fresh COVID restrictions in Australia, slashing domestic travel demand. The decision will directly impact domestic pilots, cabin crew and airport workers, mostly in New South Wales, the airline said, adding that no job losses were expected from the move. Qantas said that it had gone from the operating of almost 100% of its pre-COVID domestic flying capacity in May to less than 40% in July due to the lockdowns meant to curb the rapid spread of the Delta variant of the virus. The country's most populous city, Sydney, has been hit particularly hard by infections and will remain in lockdown for at least another 3.5 weeks amidst a drive to get the population vaccinated against the virus as quickly as possible. Health authorities in northern Mexico have vaccinated hundreds of migrants living in makeshift tents a few meters from the pedestrian crossing bridge to the United States in the border city of Tijuana. The COVID-19 vaccine doses were given to migrants a day after the U.S. Centers for Disease Control extended Title 42 order that allows U.S. officials to send thousands of non-Mexicans back to Mexico without the chance to seek asylum or other protections in the United States. Authorities from the United States and Mexico have made efforts to reopen the border, which has been closed due to crossings considered non-essential since March last year. Despite prioritizing vaccinating border cities, the restrictions remain in place. And Japan has seen a sharp increase in COVID cases. Tokyo, which had a record high of 4,058 new infections on Saturday, had another 3,709 new cases yesterday. Sagara said that the number of beds that could accept COVID patients at his hospital is now close to zero, adding that if infections keep rising, the hospital will have to limit surgery and other non-COVID treatments. Prime Minister Suga announced on Monday that Japan will hospitalize only COVID patients who are seriously ill and those at the risk of becoming so, while others isolate at home. Japan on Monday expanded its state of emergency to include 3 prefectures near Tokyo and also the western prefecture of Osaka. An existing emergency in Tokyo and Okinawa is now set to last through August 31st. The Olympics will be held until August 8th. And most parts of the world have faced the worst economic effects of the pandemic. In Chile, artisanal fishermen burned barricades on the streets of Chile on Tuesday to protest against their exclusion in a financial package to ease the economic fallout of COVID-19. In Talcahuano and Coquimbo, protesters set tires alight in an effort to heap pressure on authorities for some economic relief in the aftermath of an extended lockdown in the South American country. Authorities in Chile have told media that informal fishermen not registered officially as a company are to be excluded from the economic package. Time now for a short break. You're watching News on the Hour. Stay with us. We'll be back in a short while.
With the world's largest COVID vaccination drive, India is leading the way. As the vaccine reaches every corner of the nation, do not forget the mantra, Dawai bhi, Kadai bhi. Let's continue our fight against COVID-19. Vaccination along with social distancing, sanitization and masks.
Mask up, India!
Put your mask on and cover your nose and be safe.
Mask up, India. As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. Let's continue with the international update. South Korean health workers manning COVID-19 testing centers in the sweltering summer heat have new ways to cool off and rest thanks to the government recovery buses equipped with air conditioning, cold water and also snacks. South Korea has been battling its largest wave of infections so far, though vaccinations among vulnerable populations and key workers have limited serious cases. Now, these medical workers are now able to enjoy their breaks at the buses set up outdoors in places such as parking lots near the COVID testing centers. They are allowed to take off their protective suits while resting in the capsule-style seats in the bus. The 22 buses, which were originally used as resting spaces for police officers and firefighters, have been deployed on a rotating basis across the country since July 26th. All right, let's get you news from the world of business now. The Indian equity markets, rather indices, are trading at record high levels this morning amidst positive global cues. Sensex rose above 54,000 for the first time, while the Nifty is above 16,200 levels. Broader markets, mid-cap and small-cap indices also supported the gains. Among the sectors, Nifty Private Bank, Nifty Metal, Nifty Media and Nifty Financial Services gained the most, while FMCH, IT and Realty indices are in the red. Asian stock markets are trading mostly higher on Wednesday following the broadly positive news overnight from Wall Street as traders shrugged off concerns about the rapid spread of Delta variant of the virus amidst continued optimism about the economic outlook. Recent data has shown some signs of slowing economic growth, but traders may see that as further proof the Federal Reserve will not begin scaling back the stimulus anytime soon. Asian markets closed mostly lower on Tuesday. Wall Street's main indices closed higher on Tuesday on gains in Apple and healthcare stocks, despite concerns over a surge in Delta variant of the virus taking some shine off an upbeat corporate earnings season. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 278.24 points to 35,116.4. S&P 500 gained 35.99 points to 4,423.15. And the Nasdaq Composite added 80.23 points to 14,761.3. The S&P 500's previous record closing was high at 4,422.3. Indian rupee opened 13 paise higher at 74.15 per dollar this morning against the previous close of 74.28 amidst domestic equity market touching fresh record highs. On August 3rd, the rupee ended at 74.28 per dollar against Monday's close of 74.34. Oil prices fell for the third day on mounting concerns that the increasing spread of the Delta variant of the virus in top consuming countries will cut fuel demand. On to sports now. The Indian cricket team will start the second leg of their England tour when it squares off with Joe Root's team for the first test of the 5-match series today at Trent Bridge in Nottingham. India versus England Test series will kickstart the second edition of the ICC World Test Championship, which will be played in the 2021-23 cycle. Injury-hit Indian cricket team got another blow as opener Mayank Agrawal was ruled out of India playing 11 for the first test. He was hit on the helmet during the practice session. And updates now from Tokyo Olympics. In 57 kg wrestling, India's Ravi Kumar Dahiya reached the semi-finals, defeating Bulgarian grappler Vangelov Gorgi Valentov by technically superiority. Also earlier, Ravi convincingly defeated Colombian wrestler Oscar Tigreros by technical superiority. India's Deepak Punia also is through to the semi-final by defeating Lin Zhuchen of China by 6-3 the quarter-final. In his first round, Deepak defeated Nigerian grappler by 12-1. That was the score. Deepak will compete with USA's David Morris Taylor in a semi-final bout. And Lovlina Borgohain will be in pursuit of history when she meets world champion Buzinas Surmeneli of Turkey in the welterweight women's boxing semi-final at Tokyo Olympics today. The 23-year-old Indian boxer is already assured of a medal, the country's third in the event after Vijendra Singh and Mary Com's bronze medals. And India and Argentina will play the first women's hockey semi-final of 2021 Tokyo Olympics today. Argentina defeated Rio Games bronze medalist Germany 3-0 to qualify for the semi-finals. On the other hand, India pulled off a big surprise, beating three-time Olympic champion and world number 2 Australia 1-0 to become the second team to reach the last four stage. The Indian hockey stars, who hail from different backgrounds, overcame plethora of challenges, hardships and fought many battles in their journey. And India's javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra qualified for the men's javelin throw final in his first attempt itself as he went past the qualification mark of 83.5 meters easily. Chopra registered a throw of 86.65 meters. And ace shuttler PV Sindhu has led the way in a series of historic feats by Indian women at Tokyo Olympics. Talking to Doordarshan correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya, she said that her coach really motivated her after losing to Tai Tzu Ying in the semis, and she is hopeful of changing the color of the medal in the next Olympics.
Miss PV Sindhu has returned home to a warm and amazing welcome. Sindhu, how does it feel when everybody is calling for your name, the adulation? How does it feel?
It's definitely a happy moment because, you know, of course, Olympics, getting a medal at it is a dream come true for anyone, and I'm really very happy. And of course, when I came back to India, I mean, you know, people congratulating me and everything is definitely beautiful moments, I would say. So I'm just enjoying at the moment.
how difficult it was to, pick yourself up from that defeat and then going ahead for the bronze medal match, considering the fact that everybody was looking forward to that?
Well, definitely it was a bit hard because, I had mixed emotions where should I be happy that I got another chance or should I be sad because, I lost in the semis, but it was very important for me to just let it go and come back stronger because of course getting a medal is a medal at Olympics. So yeah, my coach was like, yes, you can do it, and I just want to let go what has happened and focus on the next one. I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to say, but I think they've really supported me and motivated me that day, and immediately the next day I had to play the match. So I think and my parents really told me that it's okay, and we believe that you can do it. So yeah, I've done it.
2016 silver, 2021 bronze. Do you believe that 2024 will be a gold?
Well, definitely I will be playing it, and I hope I do well and give my best, and I will definitely give my best. But right now it's just that I'm enjoying the moment and cherishing it.
Appreciate your time. So that was PV Sindhu saying that she's right now enjoying the moment, and she's looking forward to 2024 Paris Olympics, where she's looking for the gold medal. With camera person Shimo, this is Tapish Bhattacharya, DD India, Delhi.
All right, up next we get you the Olympic ring crop circus that are amazing people as part of a living puzzle in Germany's Bavaria. A corn puzzle, that is a corn field in southern Germany, annually throws caution to the wind, inviting visitors to make their way through all manners of the themed mazes. Take a look. Alright, that's it in this edition of News on the Hour this morning. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.